Everything just kind of went.
In a confusing time,
They call us Generation Xers, but we were just lost.
a dark new visionary
Sometimes he has the plan that everyone in the video is going to die.
and one disturbing music video
I wanted to make the greatest video ever made.
would launch a music revolution
We were hoping that underground values would affect the mainstream.
and introduce the voice of a new generation.
You realize the impact that he made on people. I mean, it was just overwhelming.
Smells Like Teen Spirit, the video, people will still be watching 50, 100 years from now.
Now, a video that rocked the world. Smells Like Teen Spirit.
The early 90s, huge contrast with the 80s. The 80s was the generation of Wall Street. Big money, big hairstyles.
You're talking about the end of Bush 1. You're talking about the first Iraq War.
Yellow Lamborghinis, spending a lot of money and climbing the corporate ladder.
And the early 90s was a little different. The economy was terrible. Unemployment was over 7%, which is really, really high.
Kids were coming out of college extremely well educated, and they were not able to get jobs. It really created a generation of kids who were disenfranchised and disillusioned.
If you believe what they were writing in Time magazine, at the time there was a lot of alienation and the sense that your future wasn't going to be as bright as your parents.
They call us Generation Xers, but we were just lost. We were scared is what it was.
The time was right for a musical revolution.
We wanted a music that was a little bit more important and a little bit more substantive. The world was kind of going to hell all around us, and listening to Poison didn't feel right anymore.
It felt like it was us against them, you know?
Mainstream media, they're saying things you don't care for. And then Nirvana came, and that's when it just blew the top off it.
In the summer of 1990, the Seattle-based indie band Nirvana inked a major deal with Geffen Records' DGC label. But even after they'd recorded their big label debut, Nevermind, the band was still struggling just to keep a roof overhead.
After they recorded the Nevermind album, Kurt returned to his apartment, and he'd been evicted for not paying his rent. He ends up sleeping in his car for the next 2 or 3 weeks because he has no place to live. So he was desperately poor, and the money really mattered.
And given the state of pop music at the time, Geffen was hardly ready to gamble it all on an unproven indie band.
The record company only pressed like 35,000 copies of the album when it first came out. So there weren't too many high expectations.
In 1991, what was going on in music was the tail end of the hair bands. You know, the spandex and the hairspray, and that's what music video was all about.
There was a whole lot of Michael Bolton and Whitney Houston.
Michael Jackson was #1, and MC Hammer sold 10 million records.
Nirvana would make a statement with their first video. Their debut would be dark, raw, and unprecedented. They chose Smells Like Teen Spirit, a signature song with a somewhat ironic backstory.
Cobain wrote, recorded, and released the song not knowing that Teen Spirit was the name of the teenage girl's deodorant.
The story that I understood was that Kurt was kind of famous for not bathing very often.
Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill was joking around with him one day.
She scrawled on a wall somewhere like lipstick or something like that, Kurt smells like Teen Spirit.
Which he loved, but he was like, yeah, I smell like Teen Spirit, awesome, that's cool.
We were excited to make the Smells Like Teen Spirit video. Kurt was completely excited to make a video.
I think I was 21 or 22 years old, so I was like a kid, you know? And I was nervous. I just wanted to do good.
Kurt, he wanted to have this video where the kids were riding. The school just goes nuts.
This video was conceptualized by Cobain so many times. If you go through his journals, you'll see he's actually sketching out the plan for this video long before they make it. Sometimes he has the plan that, like, everyone in the video is going to die.
It was the first thing I ever directed. Never directed anything before.
I honestly didn't know that was the first time he'd made a video.
Nirvana referenced this movie called Rock and Roll High School with the Ramones, and the movie with Matt Dillon called Over the Edge from 1979.
Over the Edge features some kids who barricade all the parents into the school and set the school on fire.
The band had played a show at the Roxy a couple nights before and had announced, to the crowd there to come to the video shoot, and Kurt and I spoke, and I told him I'd be there, and he was excited. He had a big fear of signing to the major label and doing the big budget video and selling out and losing the fans that got him to where he was.
The Smells Like Teen Spirit video was actually shot at a soundstage in Culver City, California. And it was just made up to look like a high school gymnasium.
I was gonna go to a real high school, but it was like money stuff. It was a $25,000 video compared to the last video I did, which was Justin Timberlake, which was $1.5 million. I got something in my head, like if I just put some bleachers over here, if I make it a surreal looking school, kind of like a nightmare. If you look at Rock and Roll High School, it's an exploitive, cheap looking punk movie. And I think that's what Kurt and the guys wanted. And I wanted to make the greatest video ever made.